Hey guys, this is Kevin Smith Jr., your host for the Container Happy Hour. Grab a drink, join us every 2 weeks, and we'll talk containers and future of the market. My guest for the fourth episode of the Container Happy Hour was Julia Mozumdar from Super Cubes. She's a friend of mine from Minnesota, and she was gracious enough to join us and talk a little bit about her business. So due to the COVID-19 situation, we did not do the visit in person, but we did it over a call. So I hope you still get something from it and enjoy it. Thanks, everybody. Julia, my friend, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, Kevin?
I'm good. Are you holding up well during this COVID period?
I'm trying to. It is a challenging time for us all.
No kidding. Well, I appreciate you doing an episode with us on the Container Happy Hour.
I'm thrilled to be doing it.
Cheers to you. I made your request.
Way to go. I'm impressed.
Yep. See all my muddled cherries down there and everything. So
put on there. That's good.
Cheers. Oh, so for everyone watching at home, we had to do brandy old fashions per Julia's request. And is that a family drink, a local favorite? What's the story?
So it's a family favorite, but I'm from Wisconsin, and it is pretty much the state drink. Wisconsinites drink the highest per capita brandy of anyone in the country, which, because of this drink, it is the kickoff to spring and summer, because now we just got through Lent. We're Friday fish fries. You go to a supper club, you have your Friday fish fry with an old fashioned, and then you just keep going all through the summer with it.
So in a way, you're trying to bring good news to us during the quarantine.
It's a happy drink. So yes.
Well, I appreciate you doing that. And I'm a big old fashioned fan, but I will admit to you, I've never done it with brandy before today. I'd only been exposed to it with bourbon.
I always have that debate when I'm in a restaurant, which one do I want to go with? Because there's usually very fun choices on both sides.
Sure. Yeah. Well, good choice. You're a wonderful participant on the Container Happy Hour.
Awesome.
So we'll get started, and obviously you're with a group that you own and operate called Super Cubes. Yep. Do you want to give a quick bio on Super Cubes just to let everybody know about that?
Yeah. So we just had our 10th anniversary last fall. Thank you. It feels like a big milestone.
Yeah.
And so, I started it myself with a lot of financial backing from my parents 10 years ago, and have grown it up to a pretty steady business. Not current situation aside for everyone.
Right.
Currently I have containers and work with people like you across the country. So I service pretty much the whole continental United States. And then I've got Katie, who is really could not do it without her. So so we're a team. We do kind of a different business model than a lot of other small businesses in our industry. So
sure.
A little more, yeah.
And how long have you had Katie with you?
A year and a half now. Or is it 2 years? We'll be coming up 2 years this summer.
And prior to that, it was a one-woman show?
It's a one-woman show, even when I had my baby and was doing maternity leave and not taking maternity leave. So, but what was amazing with that was I had other people in the industry who were like, hey, you need help? Let me pitch in, tell me what I can do to make this easier while you're doing it. I hired a temp too, but it's a little tough to pull that off when you can't take a break.
No doubt. Yeah, you don't really have a schedule. You're just on.
So I don't know how I did, but I actually made a ton of money on maternity leave.
Well, I mean, I hate to jinx this, but maybe you need to have another baby.
Maybe so. It's just been just me the whole time up until Katie came along. So
amazing. And were containers something that you always were enamored with or wanted to be a part of your life, or did it kind of come out of nowhere and you said, now I'm kind of into this, I'm stuck, or, kind of explain that progression?
Well, like every little girl, I dreamed of being a princess or a ballerina. or owning my own container business. I mean, those are the
Naturally.
trifecta.
Yep. Naturally.
I'm sure your daughter is really mulling over the same choices at her age too.
Absolutely. And I'm saying no.
Stick with the princess. So, no, I totally happened into the industry. Um, I had been working in Europe for what was a social media company before there was a term for it, social media. So I had to explain to people what we did, which no one understood. And I got so frustrated with how nebulous the product was. So when I came back, I was looking for something a little more concrete. And through a family friend, made a connection in the industry, ended up working for them for 6 years. And once you kind of get sucked into this industry, there's really no going out of it. You're in.
Yeah.
So I just pulled me right in.
Yeah, a lot of us talk about that if you make it past those first couple of years, you're stuck and you're really, really smart about a very narrow niche. And
Yes.
so then you start looking at yourself and saying, how would I market myself to move to another industry? And you probably wouldn't. So
No.
that's the fearful thing. But go back to the social media thing, and I didn't know this, and you and I have known each other for quite a while, but I didn't know that. Do you think the time you spent working in social media has really helped you progress your own business at this point?
Oh my God, yes. So I got that job because I was a strategy consultant and
Okay.
was helping develop new business models and business lines for different companies. So that was sort of where it was in this creative space. And then this company that wanted to be an incubator of social media companies basically hired me on. So the work was really exciting, but it was 2003 when, like, literally there was no Facebook, there was no Twitter, there was none of that. That whole concept and the whole business model was flipped upside down. We thought people would pay for it. We didn't realize that the information and all the data generated is the product, which is really what it is. Um,
Sure.
and so we were thinking with like the business model actually was Twitter, but you would go to like an artist and say, "All right, artist, do this joint venture with us, and we're gonna let you tweet essentially and do voice recordings that could be sent out because no one had a smartphone because those hadn't been invented yet. So everyone had a flip phone still, and people will subscribe to this and they'll pay for the subscription to listen and to read your tweets." And it did not take off. At all.
Clearly. And
No.
here you are doing something different. Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, I think the idea is there that clearly we all have a great desire to read tweets. We just
Sure.
didn't know that's what we should call it at the time.
Right.
So, yeah, we were doing IVRs, interactive voice recordings. But
That's
two things
really,
helped me
yeah.
because the whole idea was we were setting up, like, I was doing that one, and there was one with a newspaper that didn't take off. And the idea was that I was supposed to be helping getting these businesses off the ground. And you can't do that, even if it's not a business that works, without learning a lot of fundamentals about business
Sure.
and how that works. So it was huge. And I think the other thing is then when I did go out on my own, and even when I was working for the other company, understanding that social media does play a big role in what we do, and that this move to online was going to be huge. Um, is definitely, like I put a lot of money in my website right up front, knowing that that was going to be critical, that was going to be easy to work with. And once we could start making mobile sites, realizing that that was also an important part of it. So yeah.
That's great. That's something that we're probably going to talk about a lot more in person the next time I see you. Because I did not know that about you. That's a really cool thing that we just discovered during this episode. So
What can I
very
say?
cool.
Yeah.
Now, in addition to your work owning and operating Super Cubes and all the cool projects that you probably get to be a part of, and we can hit on that a little bit. You also serve as a member of the board at National Portable Storage Association. So
Alongside you, yes.
alongside me, I'm not sure if we've ever said that on the Container Happy Hour, so you were the first to point that out. So we actually were voted in the same year,
Hmm.
right? So we're in those duties. What do what do you kind of take away from that? Or maybe go back and say what inspired you to even put yourself into that potential role?
Yeah, I just think it's a great organization for starters. I think that it really does so much for the members. And so um, when I started the company, I'd been to one conference before that and been a couple of years. And so when I started the company, it was like 3 weeks after I incorporated. And I said to my mom, I don't want to go to this alone. You need to come with. And she just died laughing because I had so many people that I had worked with over the years and talked to on the phone that I would call them while I was standing in a reception going, okay, where are you standing? Okay, what do you look like? Okay,
Right.
just keep talking. I'm going to listen to you. And then I was like, are you like bat signaling these people, like hearing them and trying to find them that way? I'm like, yes, that is literally how I am finding these people at the conference. And, but then you start making these connections. And I think, I mean, you and I have been seeing each other at these for years that, it's now I look forward because I don't take anyone with me. I'm too busy socializing on my own to be weighed down by a spouse or a mom to come with. But it's fun because we have great people in this industry. But I think that the value business wise to have those in-person conversations is invaluable. Like I come back from those so energized. So I really wanted to give back to that. And I also felt like over the years I had volunteered to be on different committees and nothing ever seemed to really happen with that. And so that was one of the reasons too, is that, well, if I volunteer to be on the board, I can revive a little bit of that. So actually tomorrow I have an events committee meeting, which feels a little weird with COVID-19 to be,
Sure.
we'll all be together again, but we all want to talk about, well, what can we do to really maximize that when we all get together next?
Right. Right. And I obviously second your sentiments on the board and on the association as a whole. I think it gives a lot to us, and we come home, I know I do, and I know you're the same way. We come home with like so many new ideas, and even if one of them pans out, you're so energized with, wow, I didn't think about that sector, or wow, I didn't think about collaborating with so and so in that market, or all these things start to come together. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't even know that guy did that in that place, and you start tying all that together, and there's really something that's irreplaceable about that dynamic. So I
Yes.
do hope we get that back sooner than later.
Oh, I do
Um,
too. Because it is truly my favorite part of the organization.
yeah, it's wonderful, people. It really is. And so if there's anybody in the industry watching that's not part of NPSA, you know, I strongly encourage that they make an effort to go once we get back going. And this fall is Palm Springs, right?
It is indeed. Yes, in
So that would be
September.
kind of a fun place for people to go if we're back in action by then.
So
So
you
fingers
should
crossed.
putting right below us is going to be the website for NPSA.
So I'm just gonna remove the Super Cubes website because that's been getting way too
No,
much
no,
play.
just put it like maybe in the corner
And
there.
then I'm gonna put the MPSA really big across. So we'll get all that promo going. And for the record, MPSA pays us nothing for that. Just
Nada.
to clarify.
And we get to pay our own travel.
Sorry, Mark, I shouldn't have said that on here. So but when you joined, and I need to say this because I think it's a real kudos to you. When you joined the board, you immediately jumped in and were very vocal about things for members and ways to rewrite some bylaws and some rules and manuals, and you really took it upon yourself to say, hey, I want to give this perspective from a single operator, or hey, I want to give this perspective from a female here traveling alone, or whatever that aspect was. I thought that was really admirable that you jumped in head first in that way, because sometimes the newest person on the board may feel that their view is more of a, sit and observe.
Hmm.
And you definitely didn't. And I lived that with you. And so I always wanted to commend that. That's wonderful. So now looking into your crystal ball, right?
Hmm.
and we've obviously got the COVID-19 situation, and we're filming this, the third week of April right now, and we don't really know when things will resume some sense of normalcy. What do you see as impacting your business today, and what do you forecast where you guys talk internally about kind of where you see things headed?
Yeah, I mean it's a conversation we're having a lot. It's something that my customers are asking about. Clearly, with vendors, it comes up a ton. Um, right now, what I'm noticing is, well, I feel like in the last month, I think there was a lot of people adjusting to this kind of quote unquote new normal of everyone working from home and
Sure.
so much change. I mean, it's so much change in the last month. It is, for anyone watching this 6 months from now, like, I don't even remember, like, how much has changed in the last month. Um, so I think there was this adjustment period where people are like, oof, what does this even mean? Like, to any of us, what does this mean to my family, my job, my everything? So I think that there was a bit of a lull in there where we were all just trying to take stock of like, how do I even grocery shop anymore? And I think that, that puts a lot of businesses on the back burner for most everything. And I think containers were no different for the most part for casual users. I do feel like there was a lot of essential businesses that all of a sudden went, oh my, I have all of a sudden great needs I did not have a week ago. And so there was a lot of new business coming in for very specific things. And
And was
then
that, let me interrupt you for a second. Was that because they thought they needed a place for idle product that they were no longer moving, or were they stockpiling for the future, or what was the angle there that motivated that?
well, for example, I have a customer that's an ammunitions manufacturer.
Okay.
When I would call over to them to talk to the person about delivery or questions like that, their outgoing message was literally, "We are so slammed with orders, we aren't answering our phone. We will process your order. Please don't call us." And I think there was a fair amount of companies that are in that position, which I think is a tiny percent of companies. Then I also had other like government ones saying, "Oof, this is going to be a change for us. We're going to be going down to a skeleton crew, but we still have these essential services. We realize we're going to have some needs here to store some things that we normally wouldn't have to store. So we're going to have those." I've had hospitals calling for, we're hoping this PPE is going to come in and we need somewhere to put it. Um,
Mhm.
Sadly, I've even had like calling for being morgues with refrigerated containers,
Yes.
which is the most horrible, sobering phone call you can get. So,
Yes.
uh,
We've
and
had those, and it shakes you a little bit.
it kind of like the whole rest of the day you can't undo that. I mean, like that just follows you everywhere. Um, so I mean, I think that there's those kind of outfits that need help. They need it urgently. I think that there's other projects going on that are related to it. I'm in the middle of one that that is obviously urgent because it's COVID related. So we're seeing some of that, but then I think some of that regular business though just is plummeted.
Yeah.
And, the regular homeowner or, you know, people who are more casual users of containers, it's gone away. But now I'm noticing that people have had enough time to be home. And I always joke about this, like 4th of July weekend, Labor Day weekend, no quotes come in on the first day or the second day, but that Sunday night, or if it's a Monday holiday, that Monday night, woo, everyone's sick of their family. Let me
Yeah,
get a computer.
exactly. And
So
and
we're
it
starting
often
to see
makes
some of
me
that come
wonder, like, are they stuck at home and want a place to organize all their crap, or are they stuck at home and say, I want a place to actually go physically?
away.
Like, to be away.
Never know which it is.
Either way, it happens.
Yeah, there's definitely that need out there. So I'm starting to see some of that come back. Um, and it's interesting because it's industries that you don't always think about coming back and having a need that you're like, oh yeah, I suppose, yeah, you guys do need that. So it's been interesting that way, but long term, I don't know. I think the longer that we're all sheltering in place, I think the more we're going to see um, some of those needs change. And I've always joked, containers do well in a great economy. Containers do pretty well in a bad economy. Containers do horribly in an unsure situation. Because when you don't know what's going on, you're not buying something. But once you know that you're going to be stuck in something bad for a while, you have to come up with a solution to make it through. So often a container does provide a good solution.
Sure.
Um, so right now, I think we're still in that uncertainty stage.
Yeah. And when you look at kind of the supply and the price model,
Mm,
I mean, it's obviously don't, it's too difficult to go down the rabbit hole and talk about specific markets and pricing and all that. But in general, what would be your kind of expert opinion on new production from China, used supply in North America? Do you have a feel for any of that?
yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna go through. I think we're gonna go through some of that tight feeling that we felt, like in 2009 when we had that sharp decline in availability,
Yeah.
which, for the record, 6 months after I started the company, so it was perfect timing.
Yeah. Right. Right. I've really researched this, guys. It's a foolproof plan.
Okay, I'm gonna start this industry that has no product available.
Yeah. And
Uh,
for a point of reference, at that moment, I vividly recall taking pre-orders for
mhm.
boxes because we didn't have a single sale unit. So we would take a list of
Yes, there's a
pre-orders.
list of when you call. I will call you, but you have to say yes or no that
Yeah.
day. Otherwise, I'm going to the next person on the list.
And we're transloading 40s from LA to Dallas and Houston, stripping the products and reselling them. And I want to say a 40 was, $3,500 for a used
That's
box.
another keep sticking in my head too. That we were up that high on a used 40.
Unbelievable. And it was not price gouging, it was the reality of that situation, which
Oh
is
yeah,
very
I was
difficult to
not making
explain,
money in that market.
right?
No, no.
Yeah.
I was just scraping by on that. And then you'd give the price to the customer and you just be like wince telling them and they'd be like, is that
Right.
a
Right.
price? And you're like, no, but it's what it
I
is.
feel guilty telling you this, and I promise I'm not making much.
I know, and I'd be like, normally, so I hate to say this, but if it isn't urgent, you may want to consider waiting.
Right, right.
um Yeah, and I look at those customers that got me through that, and I still have a few of those customers, and I just think, oh, thank God for them. Just,
Sure.
yeah, like just so sweet that they stuck through with me through all of that. So I don't know. I think we're gonna run into that. I feel like already in the specialty market, we're seeing some of that happening, where it's like, oh no, there's none of that anywhere in the country.
Right.
Best luck to you trying to find that. And I think that there's used stuff in some markets where, it's really dried up. Minneapolis was funny that way. And I don't know. I mean, like stuff does come and go because we all need products in all markets. So, it's not like they're going to totally, completely dry up forever. But um, no, I think we're in for one of those weird, also kind of with the new production, like when they changed over to the different kind of paint, how there was that disruption in supply that we saw, like it was all steady and then we all knew it was coming and they stopped production and everyone kind of panicked and then they got back online and it took a little while for that stuff to get to us and then it was all okay. But it took like a year for those prices to even back out again.
Right.
And I think that we're probably going to see, something like that too. Because I mean, they're still building boxes in China. It's not like they're not. They're just not doing it very fast, and they're not in here
Yeah.
quickly.
And yeah, and the challenge is getting them here, I think. Our consumption factor here in North America is down, obviously,
Mhm.
right now, and trying to position them over here is not as quick as it normally is. So,
Those people are the ones that want the crystal ball to know where to put what where, and
yeah.
you know that's the tough question. I
Yeah,
don't
you're right.
answer that.
I
But,
don't either, and I don't know if I don't know if I will today or tomorrow. So I'm not sure how we do that, but we're all kind of in it and plugging along, I think, for sure.
yeah.
So thinking about your time, your decade with Super Cubes, What are some of the coolest projects that you've gotten to work on? And you can, if they're not under any kind of NDA, you can name drop brand names that maybe people would recognize, and any of that you're willing to share.
Well, the one that I think in the industry that people know more about, like, but you got to be in the industry, is the shrimp farm. That was mine. And it was 5240s that we prepped in LA and moved over to Las Vegas. And then they got this fancy special coating put on them. That's why we had to get them prepped just right for taking that coating. And the company kind of filled in about halfway up with cement all the way around them. They kind of arranged them the way they needed to and created a shrimp farm in Las Vegas so that you had locally grown shrimp right there.
That's spectacular. Is that your favorite? Is that your like your calling card when you look at your projects?
Well, I mean, it's one that always gets a giggle.
Yeah.
And there's something silly about it. I don't know that they're actually still making shrimp in the desert. I think that might not have lasted as long as they were hoping it did. It was some great engineers. They were really great customers. But yeah, that one I've done some that are really, I can't talk about, but are fun if you know the details. Like I've done some that are going, like the part I can share is like a container that has to go into really intense temperature swings. And so having to create that thermal barrier so that everything inside the container stays room temperature while outside the container is mimicking, like Alaska and the middle of the desert, all within the same day. So,
Yeah.
So I think that there's been some fun ones that way where like the challenge of that and trying to pull that off is fun. But now like the big thing is I do have one that I can talk about. A great couple in St. Louis who built a container house using my containers. Now I didn't get to do the mods on it, which was my only part that made me sad, but they did such a beautiful job that it was just fun to be a part of it. And they built this 8-container house in St. Charles, just outside of St. Louis. And what was interesting was that the neighbors, half of them loved this house when it was being built. Like everyone was kind of buzzed. The couple ran a local business and he was an artist. So like people kind of knew them too. And the local TV show would kept interviewing them and showing the house. So people were buzzing about it. But then some people were like, no, we can't have container houses. We don't want to. Give them a chance to finish their house before you say that. Right. Because it was still under construction, very literally under construction. Like there's cranes, there's, they're so clearly not done building this house. And they just persevered. They had a great attitude about it. And when they were all done, it looked great. And they had an open house and they let anyone who wanted to come in and look at it, which I think is a very brave thing to do. And
Sure.
And so now they actually just painted it this year. Again, it was gray originally, and now it's navy and white striped, vertical stripes. And
Awesome.
It's into a hill, and it is charming as all get out. And they're just like the nicest couple. So I just, was happy to be a part of that one. So
that's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And I think we will kind of see more of that becoming prevalent as, IAS legislation pushes through on facilities and ICC guidelines on boxes and all that kind of stuff. We could probably do a whole episode on that madness.
Yeah, I was going to say, getting in the weeds on that topic, I did a great one last summer that was a super detailed, a lot of support stuff going on in that. It was a huge challenge, but oh my goodness, when this house is done, it's going to be gorgeous. An open side, a 40-foot open side for a cabin, so that and it's all glass on the open side, so when they leave, they can close it up. But then when they get there, they can open it, and then they have a deck out in front of it, so they can.
Oh, beautiful.
And then nothing on top of that one, so we had to build all the support up on top of it to support a deck right above it, and then 2 containers behind, one below, one above. So
that's gonna be awesome.
Oh, it's beautiful, just beautiful. So that one we did a ton of work on that.
Will people be able to see any of these on your website at any point?
So I have some pictures of that 3-container one on on there, but we're just on the verge of releasing a new website, and I do have like a whole page dedicated to some of that stuff that we're doing.
Perfect.
The shrimp farms in there, the whole kit and caboodle.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, we could realistically talk for hours, and I know that, and I love it, but we're bumping up against our timeline here.
Yeah.
So I sincerely appreciate you making time to do this, a container happy hour via Skype. And thank you for sharing your story about Super Cubes.
My pleasure. And I do have to just tell you, your question to Andy about the Liverpool versus getting to sell a bunch of containers. I was that with my son because I was trying to see what the container happy hour is like.
Sure.
And I finally got to a question he kind of understood, and he goes, "Wait, are they talking about soccer?" They are, and he was like, "Well, the soccer wins." And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "What about the other guy? What did he pick?" And I said, "Oh, I'm not sure what Kevin's into. I don't know that soccer is his sport." He goes,
"Is he a big soccer fan?"
He's a huge soccer fan. He goes, "Is he really into cricket?" I'm going to go out on a limb and say no.
I'm not anti-cricket, but I don't know a lot about it. I'll be honest. Quick shout out for the gentleman that does all of our video editing, recording, and producing, Neil D. He is a huge cricket fan.
Oh.
But for me, I am a football fan, a basketball fan, and I am quite the soccer fan. So you can pass along that message that the Arsenal Gunners are my favorite team.
Oh, Arsenal Gunners. Well, see, we've got a Minnesota United fan who has been a season ticket holder since he was 1, who is all about that.
Yeah.
But currently a Chelsea fan, much to his father's chagrin.
Okay.
His grandfather is very proud of him, but not his father.
Okay, good. I love the beauty of sports, and just another reason I can't wait till they're back.
I know. We're missing them. We're missing them hard over here. Yeah. But
so stay well to you, your family, your friends, everybody around you, and thank you again for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for inviting me. Just such a pleasure to do it, and I just can't wait till we can see each other in person again.
I'll look forward to it, Julia. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers to you.
All right. Bye.